there's a balance that needs to happen with me.
Y'all, this heat has got everybody feeling spicy. Like, folks are hot literally and emotionally. We just finished unpacking the whole Mark versus Melissa drama, and here comes Emanny sticking his foot in the elevator door like, hold up, I'm getting into, let me grab my bag. And at first, I thought it was just another Emanny moment where he's looking serious but then starts joking or says something slick and laughs it off. But it seems like Emanny has had enough of being the butt of jokes. I mean, being from Jersey and New York is like par for the course and getting joked, and we run on sarcasm. But this one is feeling like a pod confessional with a side of trigger warnings. So here's the thing. Emanny seems to be trying to set boundaries, and I don't blame him. The quote unquote joke about his mom around Mother's Day, yeah, I ain't even gonna sugarcoat it. That was wild and set the bar in hell's basement. As someone who can relate and lost both my parents in less than a year, I was looking at my mama's urn like, I wish someone would. I would flip this whole block. Because that type of grief, everything hits different. Even a harmless joke can feel like a gut punch, and you start looking at your people in a different light. And sometimes life does get to lifing hard. So hard, you don't even know what's going to trigger you next. Now, he said they like dark humor, so if he likes it, I'm not even going to front. I'm sorry, I don't love it. That was horrible. But not to drag us back there. Moving on, what do you do when the folks closest to you, the people who should know you better, go too far?
How did your worst enemy become your worst enemy?
They're not reading the room, or they're thinking in this case more about content in that moment, or not even knowing if you're having an off day. And worse, when outsiders see that dynamic and think, oh, cool, I can play that game too. That's what's starting to happen here. Now, we all said Emanny should have set that boundary then, because when you let things slide, what are they going to do? That's right. The rest of the world is going to treat you like they can ice skate all across your name and your boundaries. And how many times has he told us we think we know them, or stop acting like we know them in real life? Truth is, we know what they show us. But now the floodgates are opening all around him, and people think he's fair game. People are going to test their limits and match energy of the pod, whether it be on set, the comment section comedians, or just trying to go viral off his name. So now that he wants to talk about it, is it growth or is it too late? Is he being real or just being too sensitive?
I go on that podcast and I speak my truth. Emanny has been up. Emanny's been down.
Once you tell the world who you are, what you've been through, they will never let you forget it. So now you have no control over how they remember you. You can no longer edit people's perception of you just because you finally outgrew the version of yourself they met first. So the real question is, how do you give people grace when they try to grow? How do you stop holding them hostage to the story they told us or the ones we've heard? Do you think he's wrestling with who he wants to become and the role he's trapped in on that mic? I mean, we saw that dope set back in March, and here we are in July and no announcement. Sometimes you got to just take the risk and leap out on faith. Step outside the box. Joe's whole brand is transparency as armor. He says it first, jokes himself, and then no one can use that as a vulnerability. You've owned it and moved on. It's smart. It's survival. I mean, let's be honest. He's watched Joe evolve firsthand. Tank top Joe from those basement days, that's not the Joe we now see sitting on the couch. We've watched him ascend. Whether you love him or not, Joe's grown into his role. Even Ice made adjustments. He fixed what didn't sit right with him, and now you can tell he's more comfortable in his skin and in that chair. Or even taking a page from Flip's book, Mr. Content Over Everything. You never know what's real with him, whether it be from the eucalyptus in the bathroom to the storytelling. We only know what he wants us to know. That's control. That's narrative. Now he's on the perch, shirt stays on, fidget gadget in hand. And Mel, she stays tight-lipped for the most part and still ends up the punchline. But she shows up anyway, smiling and sometimes firing off some choice words, also stuck between who she was and how she wants to be seen, which goes back to the conflict with Mark. Do you want to be the vixen, vexed, or venerable? I guess until she picks one, we're in this limbo with her. But honestly, I wish she would get into her Shira 7 bag, Vixen edition, and stop caring about perception. I could actually see her doing a top model style etiquette for baddies type show, but I digress. Point is, each of them had to claw their way to change the narrative of the skin they once wore to their new threads. And this is where Emanny's got to ask himself, am I showing up for myself and allowing myself to grow, maybe even outside of the pod, or dragging myself back to the start line? And again, I get it. Life is lifing. I truly wish nothing for Emanny but peace, health, success, and real joy. But boundaries, they got to be consistent. Everyone else on that pod has drawn their lines in the sand. We've seen them enforce it on camera, I'm sure off camera, subtly, directly. If your boundaries shift every couple of weeks, today you're okay with a joke, but next week we got to watch the table. How is anyone else supposed to know where the invisible line is? You can't be ready to Arthur fist someone when you set the tone. Even if you told your truth in the name of transparency just to beat folks to the punch, once you handed the internet your playbook, they'll run every single play against you over and over again. And you can't control how they interpret it, only that they will. This isn't just about being too sensitive. It's about giving yourself permission to speak up, especially when the room is laughing, especially when it's your friends. Because if you can't check the people you love in a respectful way, that love starts to feel conditional. And that's a box no one wants to be in. But instead of sitting in silence, Emanny has circled back and said his piece on mic, on air, in real time. One thing I always say, be careful how you speak on your own name. If you keep calling yourself broke, tired, the joke, the punching bag, guess what? That's how folks are going to treat you. And that's the energy you're putting into the world. Are boundaries just a buzzword we throw around when we're tired of being the punchline? Or in this case, was Emanny genuinely speaking up for himself? And I always say there's truth in jokes. And some folks will dress up their disrespect and sarcasm and hit you with, oh, it's just jokes. You're too sensitive. Nah, if something sits wrong with you, say it. If your boundaries feel blurry, clarify them. And if the laugh track in your life doesn't match your healing, turn that volume down.